gives me great pleasure to see that my firstborn, who I always wished was to be a daughter, alhamdulillah, and I'm blessed with 2 daughters and 2 sons, and I see a lot of myself in her, which is very, very exciting. But she's more creative than myself, which is also a huge sense of pride that I have. And it is one of those things that I enjoy because we have always lived in a society where males have been the preference, and you're often called Abu Fulan. And I've insisted, because I have twin boys, I've insisted that I be called Abu Sara, named after my first daughter. There's obviously a great sense of pride because not only is our first daughter very creative, but also she has a mom to look up to as well, who's also been very creative in her professional work as well, which gives me as a husband great pride. We are today in a place that she's created in her clinic that she was very passionate about. And I've seen that dream of hers grow, which also gives me great pride. One should never forget their mom, obviously. I've always been proud of my mom, and as we grow older and I see my daughters and they look up to their mom and their grandmothers as well. Incidentally, my mother-in-law is also very creative, and she's been always exploring things, and once in a while we do get the opportunity to even play golf together, which is very refreshing. I don't think many men get to say that about their mothers-in-law. I can say with a lot of sense of pride again that a lot of young women have proven themselves perhaps more competitively than their male counterparts, and to see that and then having that impact in society and beyond the traditional roles that are expected of them. In the traditional role they've excelled, whether it's a traditional type business or they're offering a typical social service that people don't take notice of, but perhaps in areas that are more competitive, and I'm talking about the digital aspects, and where I've had the opportunity to work with more women programmers who have excelled in what they do. Having taught at university, I've had the opportunity again to work with some young economist ladies that have proven themselves beyond, and I'm very proud to say that one of my students, not too long ago I hope, is almost becoming a PhD holder in political science. And that makes me very, very proud to have some colleagues who have went on to do great things, some of them impacting Oman's policies today at various levels. And the drive was always there, and it's always about the opportunity. Once the opportunity presents itself, I don't think many professional women wait for anyone to give them that opportunity, but simply take advantage of it whenever it comes. Women tend to be better receptors or receivers for that message than their male counterparts, because I think they're humbled by the fact that they're always going to be challenged by society, by others, by doubters, and sometimes self-doubt as well. Once you're surrounded by some negativity of the sort, that you need to learn, you need to aspire, and you need to get there. I sometimes talk to my nieces and kind of try and help guide them through their perhaps career decisions and studies and whatnot. And I find that they're more avid towards learning. They're more, their cousins are obviously just as hardworking, but the females always have that edge, and you notice it immediately, and you're able to kind of be part of their growth more so. The boys don't tend to listen to much advice. We all know the statistics usually when people talk about how girls are more higher achievers than boys and whatnot. And I guess that's not a sign of intelligence as much as it's a sign of hard work. And that's, I think, very, very important, because in today's world it's all about hard work, relearning, reskilling yourself to do something that you need to do, compared to simply depending on some level of intelligence or perceived intelligence, as it were. And it isn't really about competition, it's about collaboration and working together. And again, women tend to do that quite well as well. I've enjoyed teams that have a better mix, because you always get a different view, and people do tend to come in and with their opinions, and you always want them to challenge the norm. You always want them to be able to push that. And I'm sure everyone's well aware that when you have a diverse group, the group is going to avoid groupthink and herd behavior and move towards, some poles that eventually somewhere in between you're going to find a better solution for a problem, a better strategic direction. Women are out there, they're working, that's a fact of life. Let's go beyond this idea of... but I think the matter of choice is important. We always need to ask ourselves. Pushing this choice on women, it does not make sense to me. It should be noted that women have the choice to work or stay at home. If she wishes not to do anything and be spent on financially and be dependent, that's up to her. That's her right, in fact, in life. We don't have that choice. We are the primary caregiver, but does that not mean that we become the ultimate decision maker? Society, generations have changed the way we make decisions. I guess with each family, each community, these values kind of set in depending on how you were brought up. But you would notice that within each generation that's going to change. Ultimately, you make the decisions who does what. And it isn't about who wears a pants, but it's really about the responsibilities. And I think in every family, those responsibilities set in very quickly. We have fathers that are more involved with their children's rearing and nurturing. They're involved, simple things, doing homework and taking them to school. Before COVID, I used to make it a point to pick up my kids or drop them off. The pickup was easier, obviously, because it's later in the day. As much as possible. So if it's once a week, it's once a week. If it's 4 days a week, it's 4 days a week. As much as possible. But I do not ask their mom to do that, given her different schedule, her different responsibilities. But when she decides to do so, she does so. So there wasn't a key division of labor at any point. I don't think we should expect women to contribute. She should have her financial independence if she chooses to. If she chooses to be financially dependent, that relationship needs to be very clear. I think we often try to draw very clear boundaries for everything that it becomes very awkward later on. This marriage, family, community isn't contractual in that sense. It is an informal set of values that people agree on, and it's okay to be different. But as long as we are not holding anyone responsible, we cannot hold a woman responsible by saying, listen, you work and you haven't contributed anything. It is our inherent set of values that we need to remind ourselves of. The moment we're trying to be any different, that's going to create more conflict than anything better. So I believe that we need to be very balanced with our expectations, and because much of our discourse is around expectations and people saying this is what women should and shouldn't do. I am very fine if my wife decides to do something completely different that makes her happy and the family happy. Today we're in part of her dream, doing what she pursues and she enjoys, and we're very happy to support her. Myself and the kids are very proud of what she does. Tomorrow, if she decides to do something else, we will be just as supportive. It doesn't necessarily mean that we always would agree on every single thing. But it is very important, I think, that once you've exercised your choice, there's acceptance. And with that acceptance, there's always going to be compromises with life. I'm sure any working woman would make those compromises, but then any working man has to make that compromise as well. But we should not make anyone feel guilty about financial contributions, whether she has a career or not. That creates a whole set of problems if we start to do. So a balanced approach, I think, is always good to have. And it's, I would say, case by case, really.